My name is Turner Van Craig. I'm one of the interns through the Winnebago County Health Department, as well as a private company that's kind of a co-op with Winnebago County called pdsFUSION. It's ran by the Health and Wellness Director at Kimberly Clark. I'm a kinesiology major, so I'm in my senior year. Last semester, I'll be graduating in May, so that'll be exciting. I don't know if you want to give a quick intro.
Yeah, my name's Kaui. I normally don't see you, but I teach the Tuesday classes at the courthouse. But yeah, so we're both interns for pdsFUSION with Stephanie, and we are here to give you an evening of education.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to have 4 areas that we're kind of going to focus on tonight. We're going to have a little bit of cognitive retention, as well as a little bit of talk on different types of intelligence and how those kind of change as we age and as we grow up. Then the second one I'm going to be talking about is physical health. So that's going to be how our body changes, it grows, adapts to certain things, as well as the importance of exercise and staying fit as we age. And then Kaui will be taking nutrition and the resources that are available kind of around here that can kind of help with the physical health aspects that we've been talking about, or that we'll cover as the presentation goes on. So cognitive retention. So some cognitive abilities such as vocabulary are resilient to brain aging and even might improve with age. Other abilities such as conceptual reasoning, memory, processing speed decline gradually over time. And those are kind of 2 separate types of intelligence that I'll go over right about now. So we have 2 types of intelligence within the brain. There's crystallized intelligence and then there's fluid intelligence. So crystallized intelligence is going to be things that we've learned over time, like vocabulary, things that we've, skills that we've developed that we've continually used over and over and over again that stay with us. And this actually almost peaks up into our 60s or 70s, whereas the fluid intelligence is going to peak right around 30. So older adults often do better on tasks that require crystallized intelligence because they've had so many more experiences, whereas younger adults, even teens, kind of early 20s, will struggle or not do quite as well with the crystallized intelligence things because they haven't had the same experiences, the same type of learning, things like that many older adults have had. So again, examples of the crystallized intelligence are going to be things like vocabulary, general knowledge, facts on specific subject matter. So like if you go out and you're an avid bird watcher or something, let's say, and you can pick out things right away, where someone that doesn't realize what's going on, it may take them a while. They have to flip through their book thing. Where you have that skill, you can recall that information very quickly. And then selective attention. So that's being able to tune out certain things that are going on around you, being able to focus on one single thing. So actually, as we get older, we get better at that. Fluid intelligence can be based on problem-solving skills, so actively manipulating the environment that we're in. So a big example that I'll explain later is going to be driving. So people that are highly fluid intelligent typically peak in their 30s. It happens when you're less familiar with your environment, so it's sort of adapting to what's going on. Older adults, that skill tends to start to drop, but there are ways we can work on this, which we'll discuss later in the presentation. But again, the gradual decline is going to happen as we age. It's not going to be like overnight. You're not going to wake up when you're 50 years old and all of a sudden have no idea what's going on. It's going to be a gradual thing as we age, so don't get freaked out about that. Examples of this are going to include the processing speed, so how quickly we can recall information, or like when I put a task in front of you, like what we just did, how quickly you're able to think on the fly and figure things out. So that was kind of a test of both the fluid and the crystallized, because we're looking at words that we should know, but they're not in the right order, so we have to process something new and build that and put it together. So again, processing speed, memory, psychomotor ability. So that's going to be things like fine motor skills. So as we age, things that may require more balance, mobility, things like that, flexibility, things like that. Fine motor skills like sewing, things like that can help work on that psychomotor ability, but they become a lot more difficult as we get older. And then reasoning with unfamiliar environments. So that typically is going to peak when we're about 30 years old. It's a little bit different. There's some variance there, but that's typically what the research says. 30 to 35 is where we reach our peak. Because when we're 16, when we first start, this is going to tie into the driving example I'm going to explain in a second. Our brain isn't fully developed yet. And then as we get older into our 60s and 70s, that fluid intelligence, processing speed starts to decline. So that's kind of that middle of the road, right where it's at its highest point. So the practical implications of this cognitive decline that I was kind of talking about. So shouldn't affect our day-to-day activities too much until we get pretty old with that fluid intelligence. We're going to start to see a decline probably in our 60s and 70s, maybe some major stuff in our 80s if we start to develop things like Alzheimer's, dementia, things like that, or other psychological disorders, things that can affect those things. But for the most part, your average everyday person shouldn't see a terrible amount of decline until we get pretty old. But my big example, the easiest one to kind of explain the difference between crystallized and fluid intelligence and the way they kind of work and how they change as we age, is driving. So the two stereotypes for who are the worst drivers are what? Teens and really old people. So that is actually ties right into that intelligence, that processing speed, that, you know, when we're 16, we can't selectively focus on certain things. Our mind's going like crazy and we're trying to process all this different stuff, but we're not good at it yet. And once we're really, really old, we're good at selecting, you know, certain things to focus on, but we pay attention to one thing, forget about the rest of it. And then our processing speed, reaction time is also a lot less. So something that we think may not be coming at us quite so quickly is actually right on us right away. So that's kind of how that ties in, and that's kind of the easiest example to sort of explain it. So as long as we avoid things like dementia, Alzheimer's, that kind of things, you know, it's not going to decline super, super quickly. You will notice a difference as you get older, but you're still at a slightly greater risk for accidents once we get a little bit older. So being able to be, you know, paying attention and working on that fluid intelligence is going to help a lot. So slower processing speeds of the environment that I already kind of talked about. So being able to pay attention to everything, and, you know, processing that is going to get slower, but there are ways, like I said, that we can work on that. And then depth perception a little bit with our brain is going to deteriorate as we get older, but there are ways also that we can work on that, and surgeries and stuff that are available now, which makes that kind of cool. But so things that we can do to help with our fluid intelligence as we get older. So like I said, don't freak out. There's, you know, it's not going to be this overnight thing that once you wake up one day, all of a sudden you're going to forget how to do all these tasks and everything is just going to be super hard. You're not going to know where you are. It's going to be a gradual thing, and 60% of it is kind of that general number that I found. There are different numbers, but 60% of it roughly of the cognitive ability is going to be genetic anyway. So most of it is going to be pretty set in stone. You're not going to lose most of it unless if you have something that runs in your family that you know is coming. But like things like medical illnesses, psychological factors, and other things like medications we take can also play a role in that. So if we can stay healthier, stay off medications longer, you know, that can help with that as well. And then things that we can do to keep our mind sharp. So maintaining an active lifestyle is a big one, because as we exercise, we're making our brain work, we're making our body work. Those neural pathways that cause us to be able to do certain movements, like those fine motor skills, are really going to help keep our brain sharp, and that fluid intelligence is going to increase or at least maintain, because especially when we learn new movements, let's say we take a group exercise class and we're learning a new movement, and all of a sudden that's causing our brain to learn something new. So that's, you know, manipulating the new environment that you haven't ever done something like that before. And then challenging our brain. So things like puzzles, Sudoku, crosswords, things like that, that make you think, that make you process the information, other than, you know, because I could give you a word, you know, and if it was all put in order right away, yeah, you can write that word 1,000 times. That's not challenging. That's just recalling information. You can read that easily. But to have to come up with something and think about it, that challenges our fluid intelligence and can help either increase or at least maintain. Discussion groups, so talking with each other, bouncing ideas off other people. Reading's another big one. Communication's key. Playing instruments actually is another big one, because you have to read the notes off of the the music sheet. Yeah, I couldn't remember what the word was for a second there. So off the music sheet, so you're reading something new, so you're playing a new song, let's say, and all of a sudden now you have to process the new neural pathway to be able to play the fine motor skills with your fingers or whatever it may be, whatever instrument you're playing. High complexity activities like sewing, where it's a bunch of fine motor skills, can help with stuff like that. And then social engagement, so things like traveling, going to learn about new stuff that you've never seen before. Cultural events, and then keeping, you know, being social with your family and friends, that also can help keep your mind pretty sharp. So, and then we'll kind of transition into a little bit of physical health stuff. So it's extremely important, as I mentioned, to stay physically fit as we age. I know it gets harder because things start to get sore a lot easier and it hurts to move sometimes, but if we continue to move, that soreness is a lot less, because, and as I'll explain later, the way the joints work, when things start to lock up, it hurts more to move, and it also hurts more to try to get it back to that full range of motion. So why we're exercising? So we're trying to maintain healthier weights that can help with a lot of things like chronic illnesses such as, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart disease, all these different things. So yeah, reducing the chance of chronic and acute diseases. High blood pressure, arthritis is a big one that we move around that can also lessen the chance for that. Heart disease, diabetes are big things that are weight related. So as Kaui will talk about later with nutrition, that's going to be another thing that will relate directly to that as well. Increased mobility and flexibility. That's that when we get moving during the day, as opposed to we get home from work, sit on the couch, eat our meal, and watch TV for the rest of the night. Well, all that does is it locks up our joints. So in order to keep a joint healthy, there's fluid that's in there that, nourishes the joint. And if we let it sit there, you can think of kind of like pond water or lake water. When there's nothing moving around, that algae builds up and it gets all gross and grimy and gunky. But when you have like a river, let's say, where the water's constantly flowing, we don't have that buildup. The same kind of, that analogy kind of works with your joint. If your joint's moving all the time, it's nice and clean and healthy. But as we let it sit there and it's not doing anything, it gets to be that sludgy, kind of grimy, and that's when it hurts a lot more to try to get moving again. So we have increased mobility, flexibility, but a big thing, especially as we age, is we're going to lose our balance. So exercise can help with that, which decreases the risk of falls, which is one of the major contributors to injuries as we get older. And then what happens when we stop exercising, I kind of touched on a few of these things. So we're going to lose bone density. So as we actually age, our bones start to get a little bit more brittle. But when we force compressions on them through exercises like walking, like running, weightlifting, just moving around in general, that compression on that joint is actually going to keep the joint a lot healthier and denser, which is going to reduce the risk of breaking bones, developing osteoporosis, that kind of thing. We're also going to lose strength and muscle mass, which as long as we keep exercising, it's still going to gradually diminish as we get older. But if we can maintain that or minimize the loss that we have, that's going to help a ton, especially with the decrease the risk of falls, a healthier weight, that kind of thing. And one thing that I found, a fact that I found online that's actually pretty alarming, is 4 out of 5 adults age over 50, so 80% of the adults in the United States have at least one chronic condition. So only 20% of the population in the United States over the age of 50 is quote unquote healthy. So that's pretty alarming that's and as we're moving forward as people, this generation, we're starting to push the activity, but years ago that wasn't pushed quite as heavy. So now this generation really needs to start pushing that and promoting that. And if we can start with the generation that's starting to age, that they push all the younger people to start exercising, to start moving, and explain the importance of what it's going to do as you get older. Maybe we can reduce that number to 3, 2, or even 1 out of 5. So, or hopefully 0, knock on wood. But so the physical changes, I'll kind of hand it over to Kaui here.
Yeah, so as you can see, as you get older, you don't move how you used to. I know a lot of people say, oh, I could have done this when I was 20 years old, but not so much anymore. So as you get older, your muscles begin to tighten and get longer. So that creates a lot of imbalances. So you kind of see people like hunched over or like really slouching. And there's also that loss of joint fluidity that Turner was talking about. And so we need to keep moving to stay active and keep our joints healthy. And then again, there's that loss of lean muscle mass, but increase in fat mass. So decreasing the strength, but kind of gaining that fat. And then your metabolism slows down, you may have noticed, and you get your loss of balance and agility is probably not as quick as or fast as was when you were about 20 years old, let's say. And then you have the increase in chance of developing disease. So the 80% of people, that's true for them because they've developed a chronic disease already. And then the good news is all these can be helped with exercise and staying active. So how can we get active? It's pretty easy. You can even just take a walk. That's being active. There's physical activity and exercise. So physical activity is it can be as easy as gardening, going for a walk, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, or doing yoga in the middle of the day, or even just stretching in the middle of the day. And then exercise is just structured exercise. So you can go to Planet Fitness or a group exercise class, and that's structured for you. So it's a little bit easier, and there's 2 different ways. So 3 hours of exercise per week can add up to 5 years of your lifespan. So if you think about that, that's a lot. So, and some people don't even get up to 3 hours a week. If you're planning to begin exercising regularly but have had health issues, consult with your doctor just so you know your limitations and when to stop when you know maybe if you have, you get loss of breath really easily just walking up the stairs. So getting that checked out is just a good precaution before you start exercising. And setting goals too can help you stick with your plan, so even long-term or short-term goals. So if you want to maybe run a 5K by a certain age, or if you even just want to be able to go up the stairs without getting shortness of breath, then that's a goal that you can achieve. All right, and then we have, pdsFUSION has a YouTube channel. So every month we post these, we call them Fusion Fit Facts. So for example, February we had a cardiologist talk, and he talked about like heart health because it's Heart Health Month in February. So he just kind of gives us tips and advice about how to stay active, what things to avoid. So every month we post one. So in January we had one about running in colder weather. February was the cardiologist. This month will be, or then we had Kate Harrell at UWO talk about nutrition and fad diet. So that's also on the YouTube page. And then this month we have, we're gonna post a stress management one. So kind of balancing like work, school, kids, families, all those combined. So this is just a clip of him talking. We'll show about like 5-ish minutes.
And then the channel is available if you just go into YouTube and type in pdsFUSION. If you put the PDS in all caps, then Fusion in lowercase, the channel should pop up and all the videos should be right there. There's gonna be, I think right now there's probably 10 videos-ish of us doing different things.
And we post at-home workouts, so if
Yeah.
you can't get out like this every day, you can look up these at-home workouts, and they're about like 5 to 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
So yeah, you should check it out.
Hopefully.
All right, so kind of switching from that physical health into nutrition. So as you get older, you have those chronic health problems that we were talking about, so diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart disease, stroke, osteoporosis. And then you also feel weak. You have lower energy levels, so you might feel more tired or might want to take a nap in the middle of the day. And then there's your immune system is probably weakened, so you might get sick more often and just kind of feel more sluggish, especially now with like kind of flu going around. But everyone is different, so the information that you get is more specific to you that maybe you might need from like your doctor or maybe a registered dietitian. So it's all up to you to get that specific information. Yep. So just some recommendations. Obviously eating healthy, we all have this healthy picture. So there's fruits, vegetables, whole grain, whole wheat, stuff like that. So kind of more of like the nutrients and vitamins that you want to get more of as you get older, such as calcium and vitamin D. So the purpose of those, they maintain your bone health. So when you grow older and you have that risk for osteoporosis, this is helpful for that. And so with calcium, you want to get at least 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams a day. And that you can get from dairy, spinach, soybeans, white beans, stuff like that. And then in vitamin D. Yeah.
Does spinach have both calcium and vitamin D?
Spinach has a lot of things. It's a
Yeah.
nutrient dense food. So yeah, there's got calcium. There's also, and let's see, potassium. Spinach has a lot. So with all those, you can get a lot of these nutrients by just one of the foods. So it's good to eat a variety of foods. So with vitamin D too, it's also like tuna, that fatty fish, salmon, also cheese and egg yolks. And with vitamin D, you want at least 600 to 800 IUs, international units, that's what they classify it as. And then vitamin B12, it helps prevent anemia, keeps the body's nerve and blood cells healthy for genetic material. So with vitamin B12, you don't process that in your body itself, so you need it from other nutrients, such as a supplement or food itself. And the recommended dietary intake is about 24 micrograms. And So that's in clams, animal liver, which doesn't sound the best, beef, sardines, tuna, and some dairy products as well. And then moving on to fiber is what keeps you regular. So a lot of people don't get enough fiber. So for women, you want at least 25 grams a day, and for men it's 38. But people usually eat about half. So it's always okay to eat more fiber. So that's in, you hear bananas, lentils, broccoli, dark chocolate, fun fact. But the good dark chocolate without all the added sugar. So kind of enjoyable. And so moving on to potassium, it helps lower your risk of high blood pressure, high cholesterol. So you want at least 47 milligrams of potassium. So that's again in bananas, spinach, sweet potatoes, beans. And then healthy fats, more so the unsaturated fats versus saturated fats. Those help lower your cholesterol level and reduce your risk of heart disease. So that could be in avocados, various nuts, olive oils, coconut oils, stuff like that. All right, and some resources for you. Obviously, your primary care provider, your doctor, they see you more regularly if you get regular checkups, so that's your best option to ask them questions about your diet and maybe what you need. Registered dietitian. Kate Harrell is actually a registered dietitian. There's many in the area that you can find. And they also may help you get maybe like a supplement that you might need, because sometimes your body just doesn't make enough of a nutrient or a vitamin. So supplements are, a lot of people take calcium pills or like those fish oil pills, stuff like that. And then also on Choose My Plate, I'm sure you've heard about this, but there's actually a lot of resources on there.
Yeah, the Choose My Plate's a government website, so it'll have all of like kind of the daily recommendations for all the different nutrients that are out there, general dieting tips to be healthy. Obviously, people are going to be different, so these are kind of just general ideas. They're not going to be specific to anyone, one single person. But they give you different ideas of where to start, at least to give you kind of a point of what to focus on, what to avoid, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so by here you can browse by audience. So if you have children, you can look at stuff that they might need, or students, so like college students like us, we struggle with that stuff. Adults, they have men and women, moms to be, older adults, families, professionals, they have everything in here, so you can always just check that out. And they kind of give you like fun facts about like fruits and vegetables or grains
all
and how
the
much you should
supplements that you were talking, or like all the different vitamins and stuff, all those numbers that she was listing off, in case you didn't write them down, because I know it's a lot of numbers and stuff. They're all listed on that website as well, so you can find those various different whatever vitamins and minerals and stuff like that, and how much to get. The one thing to note too, when it comes to supplements, sometimes you have to be careful, because vitamins can be toxic when you have too much. So if you think, okay, I take one vitamin C pill or vitamin D, whatever, 5 is going to be great for me. Well, that's not the case. It's, follow the directions that are in, even knowing too that supplements are not regulated by the FDA. So you have to be careful there. So they can put anything in there and not put it on the ingredients list. So just be careful. There are little stickers now that'll have like a check mark, one of the logos, a company that is doing this now, where they are regulating supplements. It's not a government, it's a privately owned thing that kind of does it. But they check supplements for purity and make sure that what it says on the bottle is actually in there. So just look for, it's like a little blue check mark that's on the bottom, and it'll say like, authorized or checked by such and such a company, that says like, okay, that's, you're actually getting what it says is in the bottle.
And they're also working towards like making a new food label. I know that was the thing lately. So if you have like a bottle of soda, it might say 2 servings, but really everyone drinks the whole thing. So it's like they're trying to change it so it's more realistic serving sizes for that specific food. So that's helpful. And also Kate talks about that too on our fad diet video that we have on YouTube. And then also just resources through like your work. So such as these employee group fitness classes, the stretch and flex. There was a handout flyer that's sent to the W3, City of Oshkosh, Winnebago County, OASD, and UWO. So it has a list of all the classes with a description of all of them. So if you ever want to check one out. or get a group and go together and see if you like it. So there's always something around, and then also there's a lot of apps too now. So one could be, I know MyFitnessPal, they can track like what you eat and like your activity, but getting like a Fitbit could be cool. Just kind of getting active and seeing your progress here and there, and I'm sure there's things that we don't know about too that.
Yeah, there's tons,
Yeah.
especially with the way apps are developing, how quickly they come out. There's probably a bunch of great ones out there. I know another one that our actual internship coordinator kind of showed us. It's a YouTube channel. I think they have an app. It's called Fitness Blender. So it's like thousands and thousands of workouts that this husband and wife that own this company, they put them together. And they have everything from like yoga to that HIIT cardio stuff to weight training to you name it, they have it on there. It's like 1,800 videos that are on there, and they make one like every other day. And they also have, if you go on their website, you can purchase other stuff from them. But they have about 1,500 free videos from everything from a 10-minute at-home workout to a hour-long HIIT cardio thing that you can look at. So they have them on YouTube for sure. And I think I believe they have their own website where you can purchase like diet plans from them and stuff, and other things. So that's another good one to check out. So.